guys, how is it going? In today's tutorial, we're going to make a super simple A-line skirt that is made out of a knit fabric. This skirt has that fold over waistband that is super comfortable. You do not need to use any elastic or zipper, so it's so easy to sew. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can make your own pattern out of your existing skirt. The fabric that I use for this project is the Kaufman Laguna jersey knit. This is my all-time favorite jersey knit fabric. I've used this for so many projects. It is 95% cotton, so it's very breathable, and it is lightweight. However, it's not see-through. It also comes in the different range of colors, so I'll link down below if you want to have a look on it. But you can also use different kind of fabric like bamboo or rayon. And what you want to pay attention to when choosing the fabric for this project is the content of the fabric itself, because you want to look for something that has at least 5% of spandex, or also they call it lycra or elastin, because a lot of knit fabric has no spandex in it. It will stretch, but it will not have a good recovery. Therefore, once you started washing it, after a couple times, the stretch gonna start to wear off. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. So first we're gonna trace our pattern. So prepare your skirt if you decided to copy one from your existing skirt. You want to choose a skirt that is well fitted to you and has that straight or pencil silhouette. You don't want to use a flowy skirt for this. Then you want to fold that in half, just like so, where the front side will be facing out. Now take your tracing paper. I like using the Swedish tracing paper here, and spread that out on your mat. Now take your skirt and place that on the tracing paper, and take your Sharpie, and we're gonna start tracing the outline of this skirt. So I'm gonna start from the side seam here. I'm using a Sharpie so you can actually look from the camera, but you can also use pencil. And you don't have to stress out so much about being too precise right now, because we can always straighten it up later. So as long as you get the outline of this skirt, that's all that matters. And we're gonna draw only one pattern for both the front and the back piece of the skirt. Alright, so once you've got to the waistline here, since you are tracing the front piece, yet the back waistline is kind of getting in the way here, so you just want to fold that away a little bit until you get to find the front waistline, and you want to go ahead and trace that. And that's it, guys. Now you want to go ahead and mark the center fold here. I just simply put CF right there. Next, we are going to manipulate this initial pattern. So first you're gonna go ahead and straighten up this center fold line, and then I'm just gonna put some excess here on the old wobbly line. This is so I won't get confused later. Now we're going to straighten up the bottom line here. Since the skirt that I traced was a pencil skirt, I'm going to extend this hemline about an inch, just like so. Now I'm going to connect this line from the top side seam here to the new hemline that I just drew, ignoring that old side seam. Then use your curve ruler to smoothen up your waistline here. Now you want to check whether your center fold is the same length as your side seam. And when I measure mine, my side seam turned out to be an inch longer, so I'm just gonna trim the side seam 1 inch, just like so. And then I want to take my curve ruler and just draw a smooth curve right there. As you can see here, my pattern has a lot of weird lines going on here, but that's okay as long as you know which line you should cut. So I'm going to cut this pattern now using my rotary cutter. You can also use scissor if that's what you prefer. Now you want to use a painter's tape and tape your pattern on the cutting mat. We are going to section this skirt pattern into 3. So I'm just going to take my ruler now and just simply eyeball the first section, and then I'm going to draw a line with my Sharpie. Then I want to go ahead and draw the second line right here. Now we've got 2 lines that divided the skirt piece into 3 sections. Then you want to cut on this line all the way to the edge, sparing about 1/8 of an inch just to make sure that this pattern won't be separated. Once you've done that, you want to remove this pattern from the mat. Then you want to place this on the fresh tracing paper. I know a lot of drawing, a lot of slashing, but it's going to be worth it because you're going to get a beautiful piece out of this, and you can always reuse this pattern and make different skirts in different color. So what you want to do first is making sure that your center fold is on the straight position. I'm using the line on my cutting mat here as the gauge. Then you want to tape this whole first panel in place. Now spread your second panel about 3 inches away from your first panel. Again, you want to put some tapes to keep it in place. Now you want to spread the third panel, again roughly about 3 inches. Alright, now we are going to trace the outline of this new pattern. Once you've done that, you want to remove the old pattern here. Then I want to redo the lines here. Smoothen up that waistband line. Now if you want to adjust the length of your skirt, this is the time to do it. So I am going to add 2.5 inches length in my skirt here. This is going to make the length of the skirt 19.5 inches long, which is about right for me. So I'm going to extend the line on my center fold first, and then I'm going to also extend the line on my side seam. So feel free to adjust this to any length that you desire. Then connect these 2 lines using a curved ruler. Once you've done that, go ahead and add the seam allowance for the waistline and the side seam as well. We're going to use the 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance here. And that's it guys, your skirt pattern is ready to go. So this is gonna serve the front and the back as well. And we're not gonna add hem allowance here because we're not going to hem this skirt since we're using the knit fabric. Now we are going to work on the waistband. You want to draw a horizontal line measuring half of your waist measurement. So since my waist measurement is 26 inches, I need to draw a 13 inches line. Then you want to draw a 10 3/4 inch of vertical line. This is going to be the width of the waistband, which already included the 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Then you want to connect these lines and make a rectangle. Then you want to draw a grain line either on the left or right side of the rectangle. Obviously this is gonna be cut on fold. Then I'm gonna just write down the center fold here. And that's it, your waistband pattern is done. We are not going to add any seam allowance in here because we are going to work on the minus ease. This is so the waistband will snug comfortably on your waist. Next we are going to cut the fabric. So you want to position your fabric on fold. Here is the selvage end of my fabric. And you want to look for those vertical wale. They are the knit lines that actually made up the fabric. So those are the grain lines. So you want to try your best to cut your skirt on the grain line, just like what I'm showing you here. Position your skirt pattern where the center fold is aligned with the fold line of the fabric. Use some pins to keep the pattern in place. Once you've done that, go ahead and start cutting your pattern. I'm using my rotary cutter here, but you can also use scissors. Now you want to snip a little bit on that center fold, just right here, just like a little notch. This is gonna be to match the waistband later. And that's it. Now you want to go ahead and cut the second piece of this. Then you want to cut your waistband pretty much the same way. Cut it on fold on the grain line. And you want to also cut a couple of notches on the center fold, both at the top and the bottom one. You're gonna end up with 3 pieces of fabric: the waistband, the front piece, and the back piece of the skirt as well. To sew with knit fabric, the most important thing is to use a walking foot. For the needle, you're gonna need to use the jersey needle or stretch needle or ballpoint needle. They're the same thing, size 80-12. And you wanna use a polyester thread in matching color, obviously, with your fabric. Lay your front and back piece of the skirt right side together and then pin them in place. Then we're gonna sew them with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. To work with stretchy fabric, obviously you will need to use the stretchy stitch. So we are going to use the zigzag stitch. Also, you want to make sure that the length of the stitch is narrow. So I'm going to adjust this to 1.5 millimeter. Once you've got your sewing machine set, it's time to go ahead and sew your side seams. You may want to do a test swatch before you start if this is your first time on working with zigzag stitch and stretchy fabric, because sometimes each machine is different. You may need to adjust the tension, so try to experiment with your machine beforehand. Alright guys, so here I've got my side seam sewn. So the benefit with jersey knit fabric is you don't need to serge the edge because it won't fray. Next we're going to work on the waistband. So take your waistband piece and fold them right side together. Pin that in place, and then we're going to sew this with 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Once you've done sewing, we're going to find the quarter point of this waistband. So just open your waistband and match that center fold notch that we created earlier with the side seam, just like so. And then you want to take the side corner here, which mark the quarter point, and make a little notch over there with your scissor. Just snip a little bit, both the top and the bottom as well. Then with the wrong side facing still, you're going to fold this waistband in half, just like what I'm showing you here. Match that side seam first. Then you want to match all the notches from the center point first, and then the 2 side left from the quarter points. Then take your skirt piece and turn that to the right side. Now take your waistband piece and you want to place the one with the seam here to the center back of your skirt. You just want to make sure that you are pinning this waistband to the right side of your skirt. Now you want to pin that in place, just like so. Now you want to match your side seam with the quarter point notch right there. And the next one will be the center front of the waistband. We're going to pin it obviously to the center front of the skirt, and then we're going to work on the last one here. and pin that in place. So you're gonna end up with something like this. So you've got your waistband distributed to the 4 points of the skirt. This is to ensure that we're gonna stitch this evenly, since the waistband is cut obviously shorter than the waistline, to make sure that it's gonna snug beautifully on your waist. Before sewing the waistband, we're gonna detach the sleeve of our sewing machine first. We are going to sew this with 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance, and since the waistband is cut shorter than the waistline, you will need to pull the waistband a little bit while sewing. So here is my waistband at the top layer. So I'm going to pull that slightly as I sew. You just want to pull it just enough to keep up with the length of the waistline. And remember, you only need to pull the waistband, not the waistline. And that is it, guys. You have yourself a new skirt, and you want to fold that waistband over just like so when you wear it. That's all I have for you today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Leave me a comment down below if you have any question. Thumbs up if you like this video, and I shall see you next time with another fun sewing project. Goodbye.